I'm going to do things a little different. Good morning, Jeannie. Good morning, Maria. Those are the two that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm going to remotely consecrate your altars, okay? And so I don't know if you can see it, but here is a quick shot of Maria's. Very good. And beautiful, I might add. And here's Jeannie's. Morning, CW and CJ. Okay, so everybody's getting their home altars together, and those are candles and a statue. That is excellent. So let's consecrate them. In nomine Dei, Matronum Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Have to do the big one, and I'll just do it on my fingers instead of that little tab gets stuck. Okay. O Deum Matronum Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. With thy authorization, I consecrate these candles, this statue of Deum Matronum Nostrae, Maria's entire altar, and all the contents thereon, and Jeannie's altar and all the contents thereon. May they be a sign of your love for us, a protection from temptation, a reminder of our goal of holiness, a protection from temptation, and a weapon against all evil for anyone entering the homes where these altars are present. In nomine Dei, Matronum Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Okay. They are all set. Is there an aura on them right now? So I also want to thank Anne again for emailing me and for asking me questions and seeking out help. This is an extremely important time. I'm really noticing some really like separations, if you will. Some I hate to use a Bible quote, but the wheat and the chaff is being separated, and so if you're out there watching and you feel really called, please contact me, and go to the website ourladiesgod.com, study, and pray. And thank you guys here who come every morning are the warriors, and now I see that we're getting at least a dozen or more views live every day. And so there are some of those who don't comment in the chat, which is fine. And I know that you guys also are praying for all of us and for the world. And I thank you for that. All right, let's get into the Unitive way and some of St. John's thoughts. It's a little bit tricky because the author of the book here brings in some Bible stuff that I have to jump around. I have to skip over it and pick out. So please bear with me, but let's begin with morning prayers. But before we do, let me set up the altar. Now, if any of you are feeling a lot of anxiety today, yesterday, day before, we are in a new moon cycle, and the parasites are very, very active. And again, parasites are, in my opinion, diabolical. So you will feel anxiety. And the more you practice the virtues and holiness, the more those parasites cannot stay in you. Okay, I will help you to get rid of them. Okay, that's one of my callings. So I will be talking to anybody about that wants to get some help with that. Caveat, okay, disclaimer, all those, I want to keep the feds off of me. I am not a doctor. Okay, this is from my own experience, what I have done, and I will tell you what I did. Okay, I think we're ready. And because we're all sinners, to some degree, we all have these parasites. In nomine Dei, Matronam Nostra, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Let us place ourselves in the presence of God, and in Catholic contemplation, humbly adore the Trinitarian Theophany. Most holy and venerable Trinity, one God and three divine beings, I believe that thou art here present. I venerate thee with the deepest humility. I render to thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to thee. O God, I love thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of thee, and I forgive all who have injured me and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank God for the many graces that we receive and offer ourselves and our sufferings up to the Trinitarian Theophany. One thing I did want to mention, I'm going to ask Mr. Nobody to have a page or pin the comment that I make, which includes the pictures of all these home altars. So, make sure there's no identifying remarks. And if you would like to keep it private, you can do that as well. Just let me know. However, the time of fear is over, okay? Because we have to be out there. We outnumber. We have to make those who are seeking this refuge, if you will, we have to let them know where to go. O God, I most humbly thank thee for all the favors thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in thy service. I consecrate to thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, O God, that there may be none that is not animated by thy love, or that would not tend to thy greater glory. Let us make a firm resolution to avoid evil and to do good. And let us beg of God the graces which are necessary to us. O God, thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of thy grace. Deny me not thy grace, O God, proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which thou forbiddest, to practice the good which thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please thee to send me. O God, Our Lady, Mother of God, I place myself under thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O my God, I am heartily sorry for having offended thee, and I detest all my sins, because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell, but most of all because I have offended thee, my God, who art good and deserving of all my love. I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. And because of the distance that we have with the people who are in need worldwide, okay, God understands the situation. And if you feel compelled, which most of us do, to go to confession, again, contact me through the website, and we'll make arrangements for that purpose. Regular confession is good because it's that examination of conscience, of looking within constantly, and the more you confess, the more you can better see with the mind's eye and with the soul's eye of how you're doing. It also helps to have a spouse who can look at you too. The necessity of the passive purification of spiritum and the prelude of the Unitive Way, chapter 34. Okay. Deum Jesum Christum inures to war and thus purifies those who are already pure, for no one is ever sufficiently so on earth. According to St. John's statement, quote, if we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. Now that was from the Bible, okay, but I do like that particular statement. If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If you ever see people, a lot of times they're just, who will say that they're good, they're going to heaven, blah, 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 and you can obviously see that there's issues. That's their fears, okay? Thus, Deum Jesum Christum purifies God's servants, his servants, so that they may bear more fruit, that they may grow in virtue, and be proportionately richer in good works as they are more pure. Okay, again, I've got to skip over. The fathers of the church and spiritual writers have often spoken in this intimate sense of the cross we must bear daily, the cross of the sensibility and that of spiritum, that the lower and the higher parts of the soul may gradually be purified, that the sensitive part may be perfectly subjected to spiritum and the Trinitarian Theophany as a whole. Now, this is realized especially in the passive purification of spiritum, which prepares the soul for the life of close union with God. St. Augustine, St. Gregory the Great, St. Maxim, Hugh of St. Victor, Risebrock, Tauler, and more profoundly, St. John of the Cross have shown that this purification is necessary because of the defects that remain in the proficients or the advanced. Okay, the subchapter called Defects of the Advanced. Consideration of this subject is advantageous to interior souls, especially for 3 reasons: that they may see more clearly the necessity and the value of the daily cross that each must carry, that they may also better discern the unreasonable troubles which they foolishly create for themselves from those which have a true purifying value. Lastly, that they may get a more exact idea of purgatory, which will be necessary for them if they do not profit sufficiently by the crosses sent to them in this life. So when you receive a cross, is my commentary, rather than complaining, okay, think about how this cross can be used sufficiently, profitously, if that's a word, so that it will be helpful to get through purgatory quickly. There are still many defects in proficients who have made considerable progress. The inferior or sensible part of whose souls is already in large part purified, and who have begun to live the life of spiritum through the initial infused contemplation of the mysteries of faith. The stains of the old man still remain in their spiritum like rust that will disappear only under the action of a purifying fire. St. John of the Cross points out that these advanced souls are still often subject to indirectly voluntary distractions in prayer, to dullness, to useless dissipation, to excessively human sympathy for certain persons, leading to a lack of esteem for others, which is more or less contrary to justice and charity. They have moments of natural rudeness, the result of the sin of impatience. I'm going to stop really quick there just because I had a thought come in that I was accused this weekend of talking, like not answering questions immediately like a politician does. And I thought about that because anybody who accuses me of something, I like to self-examine. Are they right? Do I do that? If I do, why do I do that? Okay, well, I don't do it because of the way, why a politician does it. Okay, I do it because I think about where they're at, where they're coming from, what they're searching for and seeking. And then I also do that because we do have to take an accounting of every word that we say. So useless idle chatter, I am not a fan of. So my words are I try to make them short and concise, to the point, and without, flattery, fluffery, or et cetera, et cetera. So I realized that was a false accusation. And then I understand now why that I do. And if some people are uncomfortable with that, maybe I can explain it to them and why. Not that would be understandable to most, but that's why I do that. Some fall into illusion by being too much attached to certain spiritual communications. They expose themselves to the devil, who takes pleasure in deceiving them by false prophecies. Okay, I'm a victim of that. Who isn't? Others under the same influence fall into bitter zeal, which leads them to sermonize their neighbor and to deliver untimely remonstrances. I used to do that. Thereby, though unaware of it, these advanced souls are puffed up with spiritual pride and presumption, and thus deviate from the simplicity, humility, and purity required for close union with Deum Iesum Christum, Deum Matronam Nostrae, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. St. John of the Cross says, quote, some of them become so entangled in manifold falsehoods and delusions, and so persist in them, that their return to the pure road of virtue and real spirituality is exceedingly doubtful. It's interesting that others accuse us of that. And this is why the St. John of the Cross's answer to this is to pursue the pure road of virtue. So the virtues, I'm finding, are really the key in this. Evidently, there are greater dangers than those at the beginning. According to the Holy Doctor, this matter is inexhaustible, and so far as he has considered only the defects relative to the purely interior life to relations with God. What would it be if one were to consider the defects that advanced souls still have in their relations with superiors, equals, and inferiors? If one were to consider all that, in this period of the spiritual life, still injures charity and justice, all that in those who have to teach, govern, or direct souls stains their apostolate, teaching, government, and direction, spiritual or intellectual pride, which still subsists, inspires excessive attachment to personal judgment, to one's own way of seeing, feeling, sympathizing, willing. From it are born jealousy, secret ambition, or again, great authoritarianism. Unless one is by temperament inclined to the contrary defect, that is, to excessive indulgence and to weakness toward those who oppress others. Here, too, may often be remarked a lack of promptness and generosity in obedience, or on the contrary, a servility inspired by self-love. Frequent also are faults against charity through jealousy, envy, slander, discord, and contention. Imagine that they have social platforms using the name of a vice, discord. At this stage may reappear many deviations which seriously trouble the life of the soul. The root of the higher faculties of intellect and will is still deeply tainted with pride, personal judgment, and self-will. The divine light and the will of God do not yet reign there uncontested. Far from it. These stains which are in the root of the higher faculties have in some cases been there for a long time. They may become encrusted as they grow old and may profoundly alter the character by turning it away from true intimacy with God. Thence are born many deformations, and at times most grievous divisions among those who should work together for the good of souls. St. John of the Cross says that this state of things shows that, quote, if they be not removed by the strong soap and lye of the purgation of this night, the spirit in that person, that their soul cannot attain to this pureness of the divine union. Unquote. End quote. The intercourse of proficience with God is, however, still most mean, because the gold of the soul is not purified and refined. They think, therefore, and speak of God as children. They have little understanding of the ways of providence, which humiliates them in order to exalt them. And their feelings are those of children, as described. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. Because they have not reached perfection, which is union with God in love. But in the state of union, having grown to manhood, they do great things. All their actions and all their faculties being now rather divine than human, unquote. This is a clear way of stating that the full perfection of Catholic life belongs normally to the mystical order, since it presupposes the passive purifications of the senses and of spiritum, which are sharply characterized, passive or mystical states easily distinguished from melancholy or other fruitless spells of dejection of the same kind, as we shall see further on. It is a question here of fruitful spiritual suffering and of a spiritual winter that prepares the germination of a new spring. Winter is indispensable in nature. There is also one which may be very useful in the life of the soul. That is why St. Augustine used to say the prayer, often repeated centuries later by St. Louis Bertrand, quote, God, burn, cut, do not spare on this earth, that thou mayest spare in eternity, unquote. It is important to be purified on earth with merit rather than after death without merit. I'm going to read that one again. It is important to be purified on earth with merit rather than after death without merit. Nothing soiled enters heaven. Consequently, to enter there, the soul must sooner or later undergo a profound purification. The beatific vision of the divine essence cannot, it is evident, be granted to a soul that is still impure. So that brings me to my trip was to a relative's funeral, and and I can overhear the ladies talking and saying, "Oh, now she's in heaven. Now she's in heaven. So glad that she's at peace now." That is not Catholic. Okay, it's just not. Okay, we cannot presume anybody's state of soul. All right, that's why nobody's praying for these souls, and they're languishing in purgatory because nobody's praying for them. That's why we have this Mass. I chose to say the All Souls Day Mass every day, so that we pray for all the souls in purgatory. All right, let's begin Mass, but first I need to get a drink of water. Getting longer and longer in my beginning comments. Oh, we had something special today, so that was good. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apotei. Oremus. O God, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids the remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one God, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum hoc immaculatum hostiam, quam ego indinius famulus tuus offeri tibi Deum meum vivum et verum, pro innumerabilibus peccatis et offensionibus, et negligencies meis, et promnibus circumstantibus, sed promnibus federibus, cata locorum vivis aquae defunctis ut mihi edidis proficiat salutem. Deum qui humani substantia dignitatem mirabilitu condidisi et mirabilis reformastir de nomis spiritus ac orveni mystium eis divinitatis esse consortis qui humanitatis nostrae Fieri de natis is patricips Deum Iesum Christum Filium, qui ticum vivit et reinat, in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Offerimus tibi Deum calicem, salutaris tuum deprecantes clementium, ut conspecto divine majestatis tuae pro nostra totius mundi salute, cum odore suavitatis ascendat. In spiritu humilitatis et in animo contrito suscipiamero te Deum Iesum Christum, et sequiet sacrificium nostrum in conspecto tu hodie, ut placia tibi Deum matronam nostra et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Veni sanctificator. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, et benedicite plata pro secundo, et accepere hoc sacrificium tuo sancto nomine preparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas Sanct Oblationem, quam tibi efferimus, a memoriam passiones, resurrectiones et ascensiones Deum Iesum Christum, et in honoram Deum matronam nostri, et a Papa Pete Sanctorum, et istorum et omnium Sanctorum, ut idis proficiat ad honorem, nobis autem ad salutem, et ili pro nobis intercedere, dinenter in celis, quorum memoriam agimus in tedis, per in nom Christum Deum nostrum. Orate, ut me mec vestrum sacrificium acceptabile fiat apud Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Suscipia Deum Iesum Christum sacrificium de manibus tuis et laudam et gloriam nomini sui ad utilitatem quoque nostram totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum vobiscum, quoque apud te, sursum corda, habemus ad Deum. Gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum et justum est. Dei et hoc limitessimi Mater et Pater, Deum Matronum Nostrum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per Deum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum Deum Nostris sublices rogamus ac petimus, ut recepte bees et benedicas ex sanctam sacrificium milibata. In primis quae tibi efferimus pro ecclesiam tuum sanctam, catholicam quam pacificare, custodire ad honore et regere, digneris toto orbiterarum atque catholicae. Memento Deum famulorum cae tuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We pray for Robert Dosco, Clarette, Katie, Gage, Mark Jr., Casey, Neil and Earl Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Henry, Barbara, Benedict, and the Santa Croce boys, Mr. Nobody, the Cantu and Duarte families, Janelina, Lori, Aaron and family, Maria and the Limeweber family, Alex Tafur, the Dosco, Nye, Vegan, Wolf, and Tafur families. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the first Sede Vacantis Catholic Council office in Monastery of Illinois. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion of any kind, anywhere, place, or time. We pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a sound Catholic system of labor, human value, and medium of exchange. We pray for courageous men to step forward as leaders of this society and to banish all those vices that are publicly allowed to go on. And we ask for God to grant the wishes on the rest of these sheets to stop all the injustices. And to give us strength and courage, relieve us from fear and worry, and understand the detriment of parasites. All these things we ask in accordance with God's holy and divine will. Et omnium circumstantiam, quorum tibi fides cognite est in nota devotio, pro quibus tibi efferimus, vedo qui tibi front hoc sacrificium laudis, pro se suisque omnibus, pro redemptione animarum suarum, pro spe salutis et inculamitatis suae, tibique redunt vota sua aeterno Deum vivo et vero. Communicantes et memoriam venerantes, in primis gloriose semper Deum matronam nostre, Deum Iesum Christum et Deum et beatorum martyrum torum Papa Sancti Petri, et Sancti Lucia, et Sancti Jacinta, et Sancti Francisco, et Sancti Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum corum meritis precibusque concedas, ut in omnibus protectionis tuae muniamur exilio periendum Christum Deum nostrum. Quam oblationem te Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibus, consecratum acceptabilem quae fecedi dineris ut nobis corpum, et sanguinem, fiat dedictissimi filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum, qui pridie quam pateret recepit abonamen sanctus ac venerabilis manus suas, et derivatis oculis in caelum ante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum suum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, consecravit frege dedique lumis sui dicens accipite et mandocate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est enim corpus meum. Simile modo postquam ceremonia est accipiens et hunc preclarum calicem in sanctus ac venerabilis manus suas et in tibi gratias agens, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, consecravit dedique lumis sui dicens accipite et bibite ex omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis affondetur in remissionem peccatorum, et quod est siempre peceditis in me mono pecedis. Unde et memores Deum nos servitui, sed plebs tua sancto iustum Christum filium tuum Deum nostre, tambe et passionis nec non et benfedis resurrectionis, sed et in celos gloriosi ascensionis afferimus preclare majestatitudi tuis donis actatis, supraque propitio axa renovutur specieri dineris. Supplicis teragamus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, ibi hic petere per manus tuum ut quod, ex hoc autaris participationis sacrosanctum Deum Filium tuum, corpus et sanguinem semsenimus omne benedictione celestia gratia Dei per amor Filium Christum Deum nostri. We pray for those who have died. We especially pray for Ann Dasco, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsis Deum et omnibus in Christum crescentibum, locum refrigerii, lucis et pacis, ut ondo geste placamur, per Filium Christum Deum nostrum. Perquem hic omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bono creas, sanctificas, vivificas, benedicis et prestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso, est ibi Deum Matrum omnipotenti in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Dea Matronam Nostrae, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum tecum. Dea Matronam Nostrae, Materam Deum Iesum Christum, misericordia nobis peccatoribus nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos, quae sumus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, ab omnibus malis praeteritis presentibus et futuris, et intercedente beata et gloriosa semper Deum Matronam Nostrae. Cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis da propitiis pacem in Diebus nostris, ut opi misericordiae tue eduiti et peccato, simus semper liberi et ab omni perturbatione securi. Perdiendum Deum nostrum Iesum Christum Filium tuum Deum nostrum, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam. Pax Deum Iesum Christum sit semper vobiscum, et quoque apate, ecum ex Deo consecratio corporis et sanguinis Deum Iesum Christum fiat et cipiendibus, nobis in ad salutem aeternam. In pax tecum, et quoque apate, Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Deum matronam nostrae, cooperante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per mortem tuum unum vivificasti, libera me per hoc sacro sanctum corpus et sanguinum tuum ab omnibus iniquitatibus meis, et universis males, et facme tui semper in harare mandatis, et atinum quam separare permittas, qui cum eodem Deum matronam nostrae et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum vivi serena maternam. Percepto corporis tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego in inis sumere presimo non mihi proveniet in iditium condemnationem, sed pro tua pietate prosit mihi ad tutem medis corporis, et ad medelam percipiam qui vivi serenas, cum Deum matronam nostra in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Panem celestem accipiam et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocabo. Deum matronam nostrum non sunt dignius, ut itus subtete meis in tanto verba sampatronum mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sunt dignius, ut itus subtete meis in tanto verba sampatronum mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sunt dignius, ut itus subtete meis in tanto verba sampatronum mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Quid retribuam Deum Iesum Christum pro omnibus quaertur mihi, calicem saetaris accipiam et nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum invocabo. Laudans invocabo Deum matronam nostrae et ab inimicis meis salvos ero. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Quodore subsimus Deum Iesum Christum purimente capiamus et immunune temporae fiat nobis remedium sempiternam. Corpus tuum Deum Iesum Christum, quod subsit sanguis quam patae vea visceribus meis presta. Ut in me non remenia celula macula quem pura sancta regina sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apud te. Oremus. May the prayer of thy suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids, we beseech thee, O God, that thou mayest free them from all sins, and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one God, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apud te, ite misa est, Deum gratia. Placia tibi sancta Trinitam obsequium servitutis mea presu sacrificium corporis tui maestatis in unus obduritibi cetatatarem equet omnibus. Procuris urut obdole siti miserante propitiabe per Christum Deum nostrum. Benedicat vos omnipotens Deum, Matronam et Filium et Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Matronam Nostri et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Ooh, looky what happened here. My God, I believe, I venerate, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not venerate, do not hope, and do not love thee. Most holy Trinitarian Theophany, I venerate thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of God Jesus Christ, who was, is, and ever shall be, present here in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and immaculate heart of God, Our Lady, who was, is, and ever shall be, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum Matronam Nostri et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Thank you for coming and watching and giving the like, share, and all that. We are getting in touch with those who are needing our help and our prayers. And if you could continue that practice, and we'll see you tomorrow. And please go and sanctify all those you meet and get your altars ready. One note for Thanksgiving. Okay, I've learned this year that, which I didn't know, that its roots were based in a massacre by, let's just say, non-Catholics against some natives. So we're gonna co-opt that into Thanksgiving, that we discovered that Mr. Nobody discovered the Trinitarian Theophany, and the Lord is Satan and Our Lady is God, and that's going to be our Thanksgiving this year. So I will be away. I'm going to try and bring my travel mass kit and set up an altar where we're going to be, and it's at a place that I've done that before, so I think we can make it work if the family cooperates, because the whole group is going. Okay, there's going to be like 20 of us in one house. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Please go and sanctify all those who you meet.